You know what I'm really sick of? Crimes against Bennett witches. I'm tired of it, Julie Pleck. I'm sick of this. Hey guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. We are getting into the middle of season 8 today. We've hit the midpoint and a lot's gonna happen. I gotta reel it in. Thank you guys so much for all the support on my Vampire Diaries series so far. I know a lot of you are watching the long form versions that I've been dropping on Sundays. I just appreciate you guys so much. This has been such a fun series to do, and I'm so glad that it found you guys, and the little community around us is growing. It's the best. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about. The idiots are really idioting this time around, okay? So subscribe if you haven't already. Let's gossip. Okay, remember, Stefan is evil. Things are really bad. Bonnie calls Caroline and she's basically like, I gotta talk to you. She's on a jog. Bonnie Bennett is jogging in the morning, okay? She's running about and she's like, I need to talk to you about Enzo. I need advice. Caroline's moping in bed. Bonnie shows up to breakfast in bed with her so they can talk and have sleepover time. And then she walks into the Salvatore house and Damon is just sitting in a chair in the living room, staring into space. And Bonnie's like, Caroline, I think you should come downstairs. We cut to Violet Fell, that poor girl. She's at the grill, she's killed people. Stefan comes in, explains that he was just trying to do what Cade wanted. He feels no remorse. And then he just kills Violet. So she's gone now. Caroline and Bonnie do a head dive on Damon to see what's going on. All that they can get a sense of is Damon is on fire, screaming in horrific pain. In the real world, Damon starts to cry, single tear just rolls down his blank face. And Bonnie's like, I think he's suffering. Caroline finds Sybil in the basement and Sybil's like, yes, it was me. I flipped his switch. I bet it just is nuking his brain from the inside out. I'm happy to help, but I'm gonna need something from you guys first. Matt is not sheriff anymore. That will be resolved quickly. The cops love him, okay? So he's finding out about Violet's death and he's upset again. He's back in his vampires are evil and I hate them arc. He never really left. He's just back at it again because they don't know what else to do with him. So they just keep recycling the same emotions for Matt Donovan. So vampire hater, that's our boy. Caroline calls asking for the bell because that's what Sybil wants in order to save Damon. And he's like, I'm sorry. Why don't we just let Damon suffer? Which I'm gonna agree with him on this one. Caroline apologizes for Violet's death because she was gonna try to help her, remember? That didn't go well. And so Matt is like, yeah, you keep doing that and yet everyone always seems to just be worried about Stefan and Damon. Sybil explains to Caroline and Bonnie that Damon is subconsciously put himself in hell because he thinks that's where he deserves to be. So they're gonna have to go in and get him out. When they do another head dive with Sybil's help, they end up in the Salvatore house. Henry, the random tomb vampire, is there. He says he can't check them in because the boarding house is at full occupancy, so they're gonna have to find somewhere else to stay. They ask where Damon is, and he's like, yes, you mean Damon Salvatore, the Civil War soldier that died in the Civil War. And they're like, what? And then they get kicked out of his head. Sybil is like, I don't know what that was, but it's his own mind, so he's gotta be in there somewhere. You two just didn't know how to find him. Stefan shows up and is basically like, oh, he used to do this all the time when we were kids. He gets in trouble, he runs away and hides, I find him and forgive him, and then he moves on with his life. It'll be fine, you just have to force him out, and then force forgive him, and make him believe it, and then he'll come out and everything will be good. He's not in any way worried about Damon. He just wants Damon back so they can keep working for Cade together, because remember, his humanity is off. So the girls go back in again and they end up at the grill and they're starting to piece together that Damon is subconsciously building this world. So they see an animal attack on the newspaper and they're like, okay, well, he's here, clearly he's killing people. And then they see Vicky with a little bandage on her neck in the same spot where Damon bit her that one time. Matt and Peter meet up at the cemetery at Vicky's grave. Peter says he tries to forget about Vicky, not because he doesn't love her, but because he blames her, but because he blames himself for what happened to her. Matt tells him about how they have the option to take her killer, which is Damon, and either help him or let him suffer. And Peter's like, I say we let him suffer. The girls run into Liz in the grill, so Bonnie is like, I will handle Vicky, Caroline. You stay with your mom. It's the best. Like, I love this moment for them because Caroline gets to hug her mom and it's really sweet. Like, it's so adorable. But Liz doesn't have any memories of Damon either. When Caroline brings up vampires, Liz is shocked, and then she dumps the vervain in her cup onto Caroline's hand and is like, looks like I found my evil vampire who's been killing people, and freaking arrests Caroline. Bonnie gets Vicky to take off the bandage on her neck, and it's not a vampire bite, it's a hickey. She says she doesn't know who Damon is either, and then she leaves. Peter and Matt are working together to get the bell to work. Ring the bell. Please. So they're working with Celine because remember, Celine and Sybil want to kill each other. So they're both trying to build teams to get the bell. Peter and Matt have chosen Celine. She says all they have to do is ring it 12 times and then it will kill Sybil. Stefan shows up to stop them initially, and Celine is like, I don't know what my sister promised you, but I can give you a better deal. Caroline starts bleeding from her nose in the real world because in Damon's mind palace, she's being tortured by Liz in that weird like room. I can't remember if it was in the church or if it was down in the crypt. I think it was in the church. That weird brick room with the window that they can open and the vampire chair in the center. That's where Caroline is. So now she's been tortured by both her parents in that room. Screwed up. Liz explains that like where she's at and how she believes in stuff is that Damon never existed. Okay, Stefan doesn't have a brother. But Caroline explains everything that happened to Liz out in the real world and is basically like, you already died, Mom. I'm in Damon's head right now. She says that she's only helping him because Damon was the only one that when Liz died, he like knew what it meant to lose her, which is a hot take. Like, I agree that he did care about Liz a lot, but I also think Elena was pretty sad and so was Matt. So Caroline, come on. She says though that that's how she forgave Damon. And then Liz like gently kicks her out of Damon's head, and Sybil realizes that Caroline's forgiveness is not what's going to save Damon, so they hope that Bonnie's will. Bonnie is at Grams's house. Okay, so she gets to see her again, and it's adorable. They also get to hug. Grams doesn't remember Damon, and she doesn't want to help do a locator spell because she doesn't help vampires, because this is like pre-everybody working together vibes, okay, in Damon's head. Bonnie explains that most of her friends are vampires now. She's in love with one, and she's really happy back home, so she just needs to help Damon so that she can get out and go back to her life. Grams is like, oh my god, that's cheating. You know that your happiness means everything to me. Fine, we can do the locator spell. Bonnie then pulls out the letter. She also says in this moment that if Damon wants her to know what the letter says, he will have to read it to her himself. So they're just going to use it to locate him. She's not reading it. Celine explains that once the bell is rung, it will unleash hellfire. And not only will that hellfire kill the sirens that are present, but like anyone and everyone around them. So the entirety of Mystic Falls will go kaboom. Stefan accepts the deal because that's a lot of freaking souls to send to Cade. So he's like, win-win. You are the better sister. I will work with you. Sybil teases Caroline about not being a very good friend to Bonnie and basically says like she was going to give the cure to Enzo and she didn't even tell you about it yet because she doesn't really care about you. And Caroline is like, we were going to talk and then we got distracted. And Sybil, of all people, says it's weird how that always happens where Bonnie's concerned. So yes, Stefan's ready to blow up the town in order to get Damon back. Again, not because he cares about him at all, but because he wants his partner in crime to keep helping Cade. Matt's refusing to ring the bell, so Stefan rips off his vervain bracelet and compels him, being like, you can either ring the bell by the end of the hour, or you can forgive Damon for what he did to Vicky. Ring the bell, Matt Donovan. Oh my god, ring the bell. Bonnie goes to the crypt expecting to find Damon and instead finds freaking Tyler. She tells him that Damon can be forgiven and they can give him a second chance and he can deserve it and blah, blah, blah. And Tyler is like, no, I don't think he can. You need to leave. You need to get out of here. Valid. Listen to him. Bonnie then says she's figured out how the Mind Palace works and leaves to go handle things. She tells Sybil and Caroline that Damon made this world where he lived and died as a human and never turned into a vampire, which means that he could protect his loved ones. Like, he thought that was the only way he could keep them safe, as if he'd never been a vampire. They call Stefan back, realizing that his forgiveness is the one that actually is going to bring Damon back. Stefan thinks it's a trick, but he goes into his mind anyway and he ends up in the cemetery. Damon shows up to talk to him, but he says that Stefan got it wrong. Stefan isn't there to forgive Damon. Stefan is there so that Damon can forgive him. Sure, Jan. So Matt is now having a panic attack up in the clock tower, trying to get Peter to leave him behind and go save the town. But Peter doesn't want to abandon him again, so they're sort of just having a screaming fit. And Matt goes, okay, if you're not gonna leave, kill me so I can die a hero instead of blowing up the town. Peter starts to cry and says he can't do that. He's like, I'm not laying a hand on you, son. And so Matt just starts beating his ass so that hopefully he'll get mad enough and fight back. Stefan laughs in Damon's face, and Damon agrees that he is a monster, but he forgives Stefan anyway. So Stefan punches him and says, I have nothing to apologize for. And Damon just keeps saying he forgives him over and over again for like all the things Stefan has done, while Stefan is just punching him in the face repeatedly. And Damon is still a human in this version of himself. So he's like bloody and hurt, but he's still saying that he forgives Stefan over and over again. He finally says, I love you. You're my brother. And there's nothing that will ever change that. Stefan is like, oh good, well I'm about to blow up Mystic Falls and kill you and literally everyone else. So good luck forgiving me after that one, buddy. Not gonna lie, I actually hate this. I hate it so much. Like this whole episode, I was like, if we don't move on quickly, if someone doesn't ring the bell, like I could not take it. Nothing, oh my God, it was too much. Matt is still beating Peter up, trying to get him to fight him. And then he starts ringing the bell. This sends Bonnie and Sybil reeling, even though they're nowhere near the clock tower. Damon jumps up and grabs Stefan by the heart in the Salvatore room with Sybil and Bonnie freaking out. And then he kills him. So he's back and he's ready to protect the town. Matt's ringing the bell. He's ringing the freaking bell. It's glowing red. Things are happening. Peter, realizing that he's not gonna stop, grabs him by the neck and says, I'm so sorry. Matt is like, it's okay, I forgive you. But then before Peter can like actually break his neck, Damon shows up and he knocks them away from each other. Matt hits his little head on the bell and rings it one more time, but thankfully it was only 11 times. So no hellfire yet. So Matt's fine. He's still mad at Damon though, okay? But then Damon stops him while they're leaving and like separating for the night and says that he should have told him sooner, but he's really sorry about what happened to Vicky. Matt basically says if Damon keeps helping them, he could maybe learn to forgive him. Again, sure, Jan. Whatever. Also, Matt's gonna be sheriff again. As he's walking away, Damon quietly goes, I always did like the sheriffs in this town. I'm holding on by a thread at this point, okay? Give me what I want. I have waited long enough. Caroline now has Stefan locked up in the basement, all right? They're gonna keep him and they're gonna get his humanity back on one way or another. Bonnie is waiting at the Salvatore house when Damon comes home, and I will admit it right now, it's cute. It's a cute moment for them. She tells him what he did under Sybil's control wasn't his fault. He then starts reciting the letter for her, and I'm just gonna read it to you guys, okay? Because I know you're out there, Super Sparks. I hope that's how I say your name. I know you're out there. You've been waiting long enough, okay? I've been waiting, you've been waiting. I'm gonna read you this letter. Dear Bonnie, I am a coward. I should be saying this to your face, not writing this letter. But I know if I do, you'll talk me out of running away from all my problems. You're gonna make me face a future without Elena. Then you're gonna help make me the best man that I can possibly be, the same way she did. And I'm absolutely terrified of failing you both. So I'm leaving, because I'd rather let you down once than let you down for the rest of your life. And I hope it's the happiest life, because you, Bonnie Bennett, are an amazing woman, a mediocre crossword puzzle player, and my best friend, with great love and respect, Damon. The crossword puzzle reference? Buddy, it's on site with me and you. It's on, oh my God. Don't bring him into this. How dare you bring him into this? Bonnie cries and says it's a hell of a letter. She's not wrong, it's very sweet. He says he's so sorry that he left, and it won't happen again. So they are besties once more. We cut to the diner where Sybil and Celine are meeting to talk. They're trying to like call a truce because the brothers have made up before, not currently, but before. So they could make up, but they can't, okay? Because truly they're sisters. And this is one of the most realistic moments of the episode because they just start going, you left me in the vault. Yeah, well, you turned your back on me first. You turned me into a cannibal. And I'm like, yeah, I've had that conversation with my little sister before. Like, what of it? That's happened in my house before. Cade strolls into the room. Like, walks into the room when he is supposed to be in hell. Okay, no one summoned him. How did he get here? How is he just in the world? He tells them he no longer needs their help, and then lights them on fire and kills the sirens. End of episode 10. Okay, so Cade is walking among us now, all right? He's in a coffee shop. He runs into Bonnie. She's nice to him, and he's like smiling and enjoying the world and having a great time, but also reading everyone's minds and starting fights because he is a crazy psychic who likes to spread chaos. Still in a suit, though. He still is in a suit. Damon's teasing Stefan, trying to get him to turn his humanity back on. Stefan's not having it, okay? He's still locked up in the cellar at this point. It's time capsule day. So Matt tells us about a time capsule that was buried in 1790 that they've now dug up to celebrate Founders Day because it's time for the events. Caroline dug one up that she and Elena buried, and they look at pictures of like Bonnie and Elena and Caroline when they were kids. She's trying to stay positive about Stefan and getting him back, but it's hard. And Matt, again, is like, I just don't think I can forgive him this time because even though he was possessed, he still did all those awful things, and I think I'm getting tired of pretending like it's not him doing the things just because he's a vampire and there's special circumstances. He still did the things. Enzo and Bonnie are driving the Belle out of town to a secret location she has not told him about yet. They start talking about bucket lists because Caroline found the girls' old ones, and so Bonnie was like reading it to him, and now they're talking about his bucket list. He says he never really like had one because he was only a vampire for a little while before he got captured, and so there wasn't a lot to do. So Bonnie is like, okay, well, we need to do all those fun things that you didn't get to do yet before you take the cure. Damon brings Stefan breakfast and finds the cellar door open and Stefan gone. This time, it was Cade. He shows up in the cell and tells him that he sent Stefan away on a task. Cade then explains that when the bell hit the 11th ring, like a portal door situation opened between hell and the real world, and he was able to just like walk on through. Cade then gives Damon a task, which is by sundown kill 100 people, or Caroline. His choice. Matt finds a weird Maxwell, like iron artifact in the time capsule and takes it. He calls Dorian, and Dorian's like, hey man, I'm a person, right? Like, what happened to how are you? But Matt bulldozes over that and is like, tell me what this freaking artifact is right now before I lose it. He says it's a code breaker. It's one of those, I don't remember what they're called, guys, but it's like a little square. It's got cutouts on it. You put it over a piece of paper. It tells you what the things say, all right? I didn't write down the word. I'm sorry. Damon comes to Caroline to tell her about the Cade situation and Stefan escaping, and she's freaking out because Stefan has been crazy and he's been murderous and they need to stop him. And now Damon is like, I've got it. I'm in control. No problem, no worries. Don't panic. And she's like, what if I did though? He tells her to get the people out of town because he doesn't need to be tempted to kill the 100 people that Cade told him to kill. Enzo's driving a race car around the track, okay, being a boy's boy. They kiss when he's done and he's so happy and cute and filled with adrenaline. It's adorable. He wants to skydive and she's like, absolutely, let's go. And then he's kind of like, hold on, you're a little sad. Something is lightly off. Bonnie, what's going on? She says that she's just worried about not having enough time so that he doesn't miss out on anything before he takes the cure. And she says, like, if you're gonna take the cure. And he's like, no, when I take the cure, like, do you not know me at all? If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. Caroline's gotten everybody from the town square into the grill for the most part. She's like evacuated the general vicinity. She fills Matt in on the whole kill 100 people thing by sundown, so she wants to give him some blood, but he refuses, saying that he would rather die with the rest of the town than be a vampire. Damon's over at the high school and Cade strolls up and like wind blows at his feet and the leaves blow around him. He's impeccable. I love that man. Oh my God. Damon wants to renegotiate their deal. Cade reads his mind and is like, oh, you think I'm being unfair because you don't want to kill Caroline, so you think you're gonna try to kill me? LOL, buddy. Then he lights himself on fire to prove that fire won't kill him. And just to like really drive it home, he reaches into his own chest, pulls out his own heart, and still doesn't die. So what are they gonna do? Stefan rocks up to a random gas station. He torments the poor lady that's getting gas next to him, and then ends up compelling her and saying he needs her help with his current task. Matt and Dorian are using that Maxwell journal that they found in the secret room of the vault, okay? So the vault tunnels underneath the armory, that weird Maxwell room with all those Maxwell artifact things. They got that journal. They're using the Maxwell codebreaker thing to look through the journal and find a specific code message. Also, now Dorian knows everything about Cade. He is curious about Caroline being a vampire and also just vampires in general, and Matt's really disgusted by that, and Caroline has to be like, I know that it's difficult and there's parts of it that suck, okay, but not all of us regret turning. Bonnie takes Enzo to an Airbnb that she bought with the money she inherited from her dad. No one else knows about it, but it is such a cute scene when they walk up to the front of the house together and she invites him in, and then he pulls her back out onto the porch, picks her up bridal style, and carries her inside. He gives her a little monologue in the foyer about like wanting to be with her forever and being so excited to take the cure. She's still making sure that he's fully done being a vampire, and he's like, girl, all I want to do is be with you. He says, there's no more doubts in my head. Let's just go get Elena's blood right now and take the cure. And she goes, about that. Damon sits down with Caroline at the grill and has to be like, so I just watched Cade light himself on fire and then rip out his own heart. I don't think we can kill him, Caroline. We need a plan D immediately. Caroline says they could use the cure to turn him mortal and then kill him. And Damon's like, whoa, bro, I can't risk my future with Elena. No, pump the brakes. She's like, no, this will be so easy. Okay, we'll give the cure to Cade, and then Enzo will take the cure from Cade's body. And then when Bonnie dies later, you can take the cure from Enzo. And he's like, rewind. Bonnie was gonna give the cure to Enzo without telling me first? And Caroline's like, I mean, she was gonna tell you. So Damon loosely agrees to the plan, but he says that Bonnie's not gonna like it. So Damon goes outside and calls Bonnie and explains everything to her. But she's not convinced. Enzo is also listening to this phone call, okay? He's standing by the car, packing up the bell, but he's listening in. Damon has the fucking nerve to be mad at her over the fact that she wasn't gonna tell him Enzo was gonna take the cure until Enzo had already taken it. She's like, sorry, I was just putting myself first. I wanted to be happy. He swears he's gonna get them out of this whole mess. He just needs her help, and she agrees, saying, we'll do it. We'll rescue everyone but ourselves. Again. Dorian is slowly figuring out the journals, and he's starting to get even more confused because he says sometimes the messages in the code feel like more code, so he can't decipher them. Caroline gives him a blood cocktail too to give him the choice just in case with how bad things are going, and he's like, this is so cool. She asks why he's not freaked out by this stuff, and he explains that like his family has a history of like feeling cursed and stuff, and then his parents kind of like broke that generational issue, and so they were happy, and then one day his dad and his sister died, and he was like consumed with this feeling that maybe they were like missing, or where had they gone, and were they okay, and then he had a dream about his sister, and he knew in that moment that she was reaching out to him from wherever she was, and she was fine, and his dad was fine, and everything was good. So then from that moment on, he was like, I must know everything there is to know about magic and weird stuff. And so that's how we ended up with the Dorian we know and love today. It's very sad. Then everyone starts screaming, and two people like drop to the floor, choking on their own blood. It's Cade. He comes in and lights another person on fire, but then he frees everyone in the grill and like lets them go. Dorian is eyeing the blood cocktail like, is it my time? Is this what I need to do? Damon strolls inside, saying that Cade is a micromanager and he gave him until sundown to make his choice. Cade tells them that Caroline is important because she's Stefan's girl, so that's why it was like 100 people or Caroline. And then he admits that he gave Stefan the same order, which means that Stefan is after Elena right now. Damon kills someone hiding in the grill, basically saying like, I'm gonna do the 100 people. Caroline grabs Dorian and runs out. Also, Dorian decides not to drink the blood cocktail after watching Damon feed on this random lady. Cade is like, congratulations, you made your choice. I'll even throw in the 3 people I killed for free. Okay, so you have 97 more to go. And no matter what, Stefan is gonna kill Elena, because that was his choice too. So Damon takes off after Stefan, leaving Caroline behind in town. She calls Stefan, and he answers because he says he's bored. His new friend, that lady he abducted from the gas station, is filling out paperwork for him. We go back to Bonnie and Enzo at the house. She actually bought it to hide Elena's body as like a new safe place for her. She wants to be selfish, but she also knows that she won't feel good about doing that to their friends. They hug. She says, I never get to have my chance. I always give it up and do the right thing for everyone else. He asks her if she wants to just keep the cure, and she says no. Like, of course I want to, but I also want to help. It just sucks. He says he wants to stay with her no matter what, vampire or human, he doesn't care. He says to her, I'll stay in love with you. We can live here in this house. We can cook dinner every night, dance by the fire. She goes, play guitar. He's romanticizing watching her get older and still loving her no matter what. He promises he doesn't need the cure to be happy. He just needs her. She kisses him with her eyes open, and I want to curl up and die, okay? I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. We go back to Stefan. Yes, you guessed correctly. That poor woman from the gas station is transferring the deed of ownership over to her name instead of Bonnie's. So Enzo gets yeeted onto the front porch. He can't get back inside, and then Stefan asks that poor woman to let him in. I think her name is Karen. It's not important. Caroline, Matt, and Dorian clean up the grill. Matt has yet another soapbox episode where he tells them that this town has gone to shit and everything sucks and everything's scary and awful. Caroline is like, Matt, the town's always been like this, okay? The difference is we were kids and the adults hid the darkness from us, but now we're the adults. And Matt goes, no, actually, you're part of the darkness. It's a hardcore line, Matt Donovan. Dorian admits he's not ready to be a vampire because he doesn't want to be a scary killer like Damon. He finds a message in the journal and he says it's in another language and it's like weird Latin, so it's probably definitely a spell. He gives Matt another Maxwell heirloom, which is a golden pendant. Damon's racing to New York, but Stefan says, you're going in the wrong direction, bucko. I'm going to the real location. So when Cade ran into Bonnie at the beginning of the episode, he read her mind and he found out about the house and where Elena was, and he fed that information to Stefan, and that's how Stefan is doing this job now. Bonnie goes inside to get the cure from Elena alone, leaving Enzo on the porch. That will unfortunately be important in a few minutes. Damon begs Stefan to turn around and come meet him somewhere and take his anger out on him, and this is when Stefan goes, I am taking it out on you. I'm on my way to murder Elena. Bonnie takes the cure out of Elena. Damon promises that Stefan will never have to take care of him again. He will take care of them both now. He will handle everything. He will be the good big brother that he's supposed to be. And Stefan is like, yeah, I don't think you're capable of that, buddy. But he believes if he gets rid of Elena, then they'll never like be friends again. Like that will be like the final severing bond between them, which will free Stefan from having to deal with Damon. So Stefan strolls up the driveway to the Airbnb, saying that Elena is a stupid human girl. They never should have cared about her. She's a waste of space. Damon says that he won't really kill her. And Stefan is like, oh, I can and I will. And you know what? I can't wait. Enzo is pacing on the porch, nervous, okay? He puts his hands up on the doorframe and like leans in as far as he can go. Bonnie's taking the blood from Elena in another room. They're talking to each other, kind of talking through the process. Then Enzo stops answering. Bonnie rounds the corner back into the room and he's still leaning forward into the doorway, okay, looking at her. And she goes, Enzo? He gasps and falls forward, revealing Stefan standing behind him, holding his heart in his hands. So Enzo falls to the porch, freaking dead, and Stefan just strolls inside, straight to Bonnie. They fight. And he says, why do you even care what happens to Elena? In a few minutes, you're gonna be dead. And Bonnie goes, yeah, and you'll be human. And then she stabs him in the leg with the syringe of cure blood. So Stefan passes out. She runs over his body. Okay, the sound goes out in the scene, by the way, all right? So it's silent now. She runs to the porch. She falls down on Enzo's body. She starts sobbing. She's holding him. She tilts her head back and screams bloody murder to the sky, and a blast of magic shoots out of her before we cut to black. You know what I'm really sick of? Crimes against Bennett witches. I'm tired of it, Julie Plec. I'm sick of this. But in all reality, this is one of like the best Kat Graham scenes. It's so good. Okay, I know I've gushed about how amazing the little details that Michael and Kat found for Enzo and Bonnie, but like Y'all, this scene is so good. This scene is so good. And like I said, it's silent, okay? We sort of hear her like brokenly call his name, but it's like distorted and stuff. And then when she screams, that's when it like sort of shatters through and we hear it. It's so good. I made my husband watch it this morning. I was like, you have to watch this scene with me. And even he was standing there like, damn, that is rough. And I was like, I told you, it's the worst. Okay, whiplash time. Episode 12. We open with Matt having a dream about the witches burning in front of the witch house with the bell being rung in the distance. He wakes up in the vault tunnels in the armory and like stumbles out the door and everything into the main space while the alarm is going off. And then Rick shows up with a gun and is like, Matt, what are you doing here? Bonnie is on the floor inside the house. Enzo is still on the porch. Her phone rings and it's Damon. When she answers, he's immediately freaking out, thinking that Elena is dead because she's crying. And then when she tells him, no, Elena is fine, Enzo is gone. He does not have enough of an emotional reaction for me, okay? I don't know if it's just the choice Ian made or if it's the way it's written, but it's not enough, all right? But he does say, just stay there, I'm coming for you, even though she says no. He's like, I have to know you're okay. It doesn't do it for me because Bonnie's on the phone crying. Like, you should be crying too, Damon. He says he'll deal with Stefan, and she says, oh, don't worry, I already did. I gave his ass the cure. So Stefan is racing away in a car, all right? Bloody hands on the steering wheel because there's still blood where he ripped out Enzo's heart. He's human now and overcome with like thousands of evil deeds. Caroline calls, knowing what happened. He says he can't be forgiven. He doesn't even want to think about having to talk to Bonnie because he doesn't know what he would say. He's driving really quickly in his panic and the fact that he's probably forgetting that he's not a vampire anymore. So then he gets arrested because when the cop pulls him over for speeding, he sees the blood on his hands and shirt, because Stefan's wearing a white shirt covered in blood. And he's like, yeah, buddy, you're coming with me. And Caroline's just like calling on the phone like, Stefan, what's happening? And he's in the cop car. He's gone. Rick sits down with Matt, all right? Remember, Rick was off with the girls somewhere. I don't think we ever find out where he took them. He's back in town because Dorian called and said he needed help. Matt swears the dream wasn't just a nightmare. He said it felt like he was really there. And Dorian is like, I think you might have been actually, bro. I'm really sorry I gave you that necklace. I think it's a talisman linking you to an ancestor from your past, so you're seeing memories through the necklace. Given the fact that there's like a Bennett connection to everything, Matt's like, okay, well, we should call Bonnie and see if she knows anything. Rick gets off the phone after somebody calls him, either Caroline or Damon. And Matt is like, what happened? What's wrong? Is something wrong? And Rick is like, yeah, it's really bad. Damon's drinking, shattering glasses in his hand, as one does. Caroline calls to say that Stefan got arrested, and Damon's like, you know what, that's actually probably for the best, because he shouldn't be alone right now, all right? If he does anything to himself, he's human, so we need to keep watch on him. Caroline says Bonnie won't answer her phone calls, and Damon is like, yeah, Caroline, can you blame her? So at least he gets that right. At least he knows they need to just leave her alone. Cade shows up to tell him that he's sorry for his loss, not of Enzo, but of Stefan. The deal is broken now because the boys were supposed to be vampire killers, and now that Stefan is human, null and void. But Cade is like, I will actually kill him unless by sundown tonight you give me the journal that I want, which is the Maxwell journal that Dorian is using over in the armory. If Damon gives it to him, Cade's more than happy to let Stefan live out the rest of his life as a human. So Stefan's in jail, okay? He's being shown by a lawyer all the different people he's killed, and they caught him because his fingerprints were at the crime scenes. We never really touch on this, all right? The fact that they never get caught. But oh my God, it feels like they should get caught so much more than they do. I know that they can use compulsion and that's how he's gonna get out of it in a minute. But it just feels like to me they should get caught more often. Bonnie's making tea in the kitchen of the Airbnb and she hears Enzo, like distinctly Enzo's voice, calling for her, asking for help. Then there's a knock on the door and it's Abby freaking Bennett. Her mom is there because Caroline called and said that she wasn't talking to any of them, but she thought maybe Abby would be able to talk to her. Abby can't come in the house. So Bonnie steps outside and hugs her. It's really sweet. The lawyer comes back in and quickly lets Stefan go because Caroline has shown up and she's compelled everybody to forget everything and pretend like Stefan didn't do it. They hug, She sees the pictures of the people he killed too, and is basically like, this isn't your fault, this was Cade's fault. But now he's having a hard time believing that because he sort of feels the way Matt did, which is like, I still did the things though, even though I was possessed. Matt's still calling Bonnie for help and she is not answering him. Damon shows up to get the journal. Rick stops him by being like, buddy, you don't just give the devil what he wants unless you know why he wants it. Damon's like, you're gonna have to kill me, okay, because I'm not letting Stefan die over this. Give me the journal. So then Rick just vervains him in the neck and Damon goes to sleep. Abby helps Bonnie get Enzo's body ready to bury it. It's so sweet, okay, because at this point, Abby's still a vampire. She doesn't have magic. Bonnie doesn't have magic. They're still doing all the like witchy rituals over him. It's so sweet. It's precious. And they're in the greenhouse, so they're like surrounded by plants. It's amazing. Bonnie says she still feels him, and she doesn't think Enzo wants to be put in the ground. Abby's like, honey, you're grieving, it's okay. But Bonnie's like, no, I've actually grieved plenty of times in my life. That's not what this is something else. Abby reminds her that the other side is gone, so there's nowhere for Enzo's spirit to be, and they don't have magic. But Bonnie is like, Mom, I think we have to try, okay? I think that's why you came here. You were supposed to help me make contact with him. While Caroline is getting Stefan out of jail, he sees the little girl of the lady, we're gonna call her Karen, I think her name is Karen. He sees her daughter in the police station saying her mom is missing and she doesn't know where she is and she doesn't have any other family. So he tells Caroline, I didn't kill her, but I left her in the trunk of a car and she's probably dead and they're never gonna find her body. So Caroline's like, okay, let's go get her. Damon wakes up in the armory. Matt is in bed in one of the cells being hooked up to some sedation stuff so that they can put him to sleep a little bit and like hypnotize him into going into the memories of his ancestor and then telling them what he sees when he uses the necklace to see the memories. Do you see why this show, can you believe what I just said to you? Did any of that make sense? What's going on? In the memory flashbacks, okay, Matt goes to the witch house. He says it looks beautiful and brand new. There is a bell being built, and he is basically in his ancestor Ethan's body, and the guy looks like Matt, okay? So he's the one like making the bell and stuff. There's a Bennett witch there. Her name is Beatrice, I think, and he calls her B. They're being cute, all right? There's clearly something going on there with them. They're talking about how the Bennetts put magic into the metal that he is now turning into the bell. They're the ones that have been using that cute little cipher together, okay? So they write in code. Sybil shows up and basically like kidnaps him from Beatrice. In the real world, Stefan and Caroline go looking for that missing lady. He's not totally sure where he left her anymore. Also, he's getting snippy and kind of mean, and he basically lashes out at Caroline and says like, I know you just want to get back together and pretend everything's fine and get married, but I don't think I can do that. And Caroline's like, we've been together for hours and I haven't even mentioned the wedding. Relax. They find the car, but the lady's body is not in the trunk. However, there is a blood trail that they decide to follow. Memory flashes, okay? Matt says that Sybil took Ethan to that secret room in the vault tunnels. Celine was also there, so now both sirens are there with Ethan. She shows him different artifacts and trinkets, including a knife that she says was made around the time that Cade died. They're the ones who made him put the tuning fork in the bell so that the town would explode. Bonnie and Abby do a ritual over Enzo to try to reach out to him. She asks if he's there with them, and the flowers like blow away in a really strong breeze. Then Abby falls back, letting Bonnie go, screaming. She says she saw the power that blasted out of Bonnie at the moment of Enzo's death, and she thinks Bonnie must have opened a door to somewhere dark. So Bonnie is like, oh my god, I opened a door to hell, and that's where Enzo is. No, I gotta get him out of there. Abby says they have to close the door by burying him and like putting a stop to this. Bonnie wants to get him out, and then she hears him calling her again and then promptly passes out on the floor of the freaking greenhouse. Stefan finds the woman in the woods, but when she sees him, she panics and stabs him. He makes Caroline heal her first, and then once Caroline turns to give him some of her blood, they remember that the cure keeps you from being affected by magic anymore. So Stefan can't be healed, and he is dying in Caroline's arms. Memories. Okay, we're back with Matt in Ethan's body. The witches are gathering for the ringing of the bell. Ethan can't warn Beatrice, okay, but he keeps saying, I can't say. I can't say, even though he wants to tell her what's wrong because he's under the siren control. So he gives her the journal after he's written something, once again going, I cannot say. He goes to ring the bell, unable to stop himself, while she goes, oh my God, secret message in the book. And she uses the code thingy, looks at it, and it basically says like, when I ring the bell, hellfire's unleashed, town explode. And she's like, oh no. So the Bennetts realize what's happening too, and make a ring around the bell, sacrificing themselves. That's why the witch is burned. They die, and the town lives. What did I just say about crimes against Bennetts? As the fire dies down and everything, we see that only Ethan and Beatrice survived. Matt starts having a heart attack from the pain of the memories. Damon rushes in to give Matt his blood, so Matt does not die from a heart attack. We see Beatrice and Ethan standing there over the ashes of her dead family. They're crying, both of them. It's cute, okay? Because Bonnie and Matt have also always had like a weird twin flame connection going on, okay? We've talked about it before once or twice. They just have these weird moments. And if they were gonna tie that together in some way, this is nice. This feels correct. Then we see Beatrice sealing the sirens in the cave, so that's how Celine and Sybil got locked away. They warn them that they're going to be cursed together, the Maxwells and the Bennetts, unless they free Cade and then kill him. They sirened Ethan to kill Beatrice, but she stops him with her magic and pushes him into the room that they found his body in, leaving him behind. He is frantically saying, wait, I know how to kill Cade, but I cannot say. So he scribbles it down into his journal, hoping that Beatrice will listen and come back and get that from him. Obviously she didn't. She thankfully just left him behind. When Matt wakes up, okay, and now Rick and Dorian are like, oh my God, the answer to killing Cade is in that freaking journal, they realize that Damon took it and ran. Abby's trying to wake Bonnie up. It's not working. So she panics, she pours gasoline on Enzo, she lights him on fire. That makes Bonnie wake up, but now she's having a panic attack watching Enzo burn. Abby has to explain that Enzo didn't open the door, Bonnie did. She can't let Bonnie destroy herself because she knows that Enzo loved her and he wouldn't want that. So wherever he is, he does not want Bonnie to be dragged down there with him. Bonnie breaks down sobbing, watching the fire over Abby's shoulder in the greenhouse. Stefan, by the way, is still bleeding out in the woods with Caroline. He's accepted he's going to hell. He's like, it's cool, it's time, I deserve it. She begs him not to give up and to keep fighting. The ambulance is coming, but he passes out in her arms again. Damon brings the journal to Cade and gives it over. Cade says Stefan is now free to live out the rest of his human life. Damon asks if anybody has ever earned their way out of hell. Cade says he doesn't want to give him false hope and then burns the journal. Stefan sees the little girl get reunited with her mom. Caroline's ready to take him home. They talk about moving forward. He does apologize for having been a jerk earlier. He says he doesn't know what they're gonna do now that he's a human and she's a vampire. He's like, what does our life even look like anymore? And she says she doesn't know either, but she doesn't want to give up just because it's not what they expected it to be. They agree that they both don't know how to make things right, but she says she knows where he could start. Bonnie comes home to find Matt waiting for her on the porch. He says he wanted to tell her in person how sorry he was about what happened to Enzo. She immediately starts to cry and she says she doesn't think she can do this. He says she's one of the strongest people he knows, and he actually thinks he knows exactly where she got that strength from, and he will happily tell her about it when she's ready. She says none of this would have happened if she just still had her magic, because then she would have been able to protect Enzo. Matt tells her to find comfort in the fact that Enzo loved her as much as he did, and that he will always be with her. And then he kisses her on the forehead and leaves her on the porch. Bonnie touches her necklace, which still has Enzo's blood in it. Stefan comes home to Damon. Damon wants to sit with him, but Stefan's like, no, actually, I just need to change clothes because I'm bloody from being stabbed in the stomach. And then I'm gonna go to Bonnie and I'm gonna try to think of something to say, but I have no idea where to even start. He does also thank Damon for saving his life from Cade, and Damon says, no problem, bro. Typical Tuesday activities. Stefan asks if he thinks there's a chance for them to find redemption, and Damon looks him in the eyes and says, absolutely. Liar. Rick asks Dorian what he needed his help with, and then Damon comes inside the armory and Dorian's like, gotta go. I'll tell you tomorrow. So now it's just Rick and Damon alone in the armory. I'm vibrating out of my skin right now. Oh my, I'm so excited. Rick asks Damon if Damon realizes what he did in giving Cade the journal, and Damon's like, I'm assuming it's how we were gonna kill him, but you know what, I don't care, because I needed to save my brother. And guess what, Rick? I'm selfish. Then he's like, come on, we gotta go down into the vault. Please, go into the vault, go. Stefan gets freaking tased standing outside of Bonnie's house and then like kidnapped. In the secret vault room, Damon explains that Sybil had a loophole to the Bell situation, and he picks up that knife thing that Matt mentioned in his dream as being made around the time that Cade died. And Damon's like, I bet anything this is how we're gonna kill him. And Rick is like standing there like, damn, I'm a little impressed. Damon thinks they should drink, apologize to each other, and make a plan to kill the devil. Lily, if you're watching right now, are you prepared? Are you ready? I know I am. From behind Damon, we hear, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but what if I told you I had a better idea? He's back. Kai freaking Parker just strolls from the back of the freaking vault tunnels, walks right into the room with Rick and Damon, and goes, They're standing there like, Rick looks like he's gonna pass out. He's just standing there like ready to drop. But yeah, after a season and a half of just absolute buffoonery, my boy is finally back. I can breathe, I can be happy. They took Enzo from me, but they gave me my baby back. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's gossip session. If you did, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment down below. How do you feel about Enzo dying, okay? That scene is crazy to me. It's so heartbreaking. And then very quickly, the whiplash for me personally of Kai showing back up. I can't even imagine what it would have felt like to watch that live. When I finally saw season 8, it was all already on Netflix, okay? And I did not know he was coming. So I vividly remember being like, oh my God, but I was able to just go to the next episode. If I had to wait a week, I would not have survived. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye.